Well, good morning. What a glorious day. And as I talk this morning, you'll know what this means to me. Very, very significant in my life. Gorgeous days like this, especially after the storms of the other day. And as I'll also talk about the fact that with all storms, no matter how bad they are and how cloudy it is and the lightning and all that, they all eventually leave. And so are the storms in our lives. This is very interesting and unique in that I found myself, and I'm getting older in life, and I found myself about a year and a half ago, all of a sudden, for some crazy reason, starting to go back and look at my life as far back as I can remember. My short-term memory is terrible, but my long-term memory is really very good, and I can see things that happened to me and things that I did and friends I was with, very specific times back to probably when I was about 5. And I've also seen what's happened in my life and what this journey has all been like and what I've been involved with. So when Dave Rizzo asked me, I don't know, a month or so ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago, if I would be interested in sharing my faith walk with you, I thought, gee, this is really kind of strange or weird almost that I've been doing this. I've been looking at my life in a lot of detail. So I thought, well, this is God's opening this door and just allow me to share with you what my life has been like. Let me just start by saying God works in our lives in strange ways and miraculous ways. And going back in my life, one of the most favorite verses that I have in my life, and it comes to me all the time, is Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. And then as I was growing up, I learned Philippians 4:13. And if there are 2 verses in my life that I call my life's verses, these are the 2. Philippians 4:13, I can do everything through him who gives me strength. Remember those. And they keep coming back to me constantly. So, faith. I thought maybe before I started this, I thought maybe I should just kind of get online, and Google and see what faith is, see what kinds of definition I found. Basically, it's all the same. But the first paragraph in the website that I saw was faith is a very strong belief or an allegiance, a trust in someone or something. And of course, when we talk about our faith, we're talking about, incredibly deep faith and trust in God, in a strong belief in God. So that's what I'm looking at faith as right now. My background, just a little bit of background. I got to say this one thing, just while I remember it. When I came in here this morning, I met Chris, and I hadn't met him before. And I got to tell you, the thing that impressed me most is your shorts. Now listen. Yes. Amen. Because I've asked my wife several times, do you think I could wear shorts? And she's, I don't. So please be aware, dear, from now on. Okay.
I think you have to be a Navy SEAL first.
I can be a SEAL. So I was born in Boston, Massachusetts, and was brought up in South Weymouth. South Weymouth in those days was not a suburb of Boston. It was way out in the country, nothing like it is today. But that's where I grew up. I'm the youngest of 3 sons. I have 2 brothers. One is 5 years older than I am. One is 10 years older than I am. And I'm much younger than my oldest one, obviously. And so the timing, the years spread between us, didn't see the 3 of us as really interacting as 3 brothers. We were very close, But by the time I was 5 or 6 years old, my brother was just about ready to get out of high school. But we really did have a very close family. My parents were divorced when I was about 2. And that has really basically followed me, and I really started thinking about a lot of that recently, in that I never knew my father. I mean, I knew him, but I never knew a dad. I never really felt that I had a dad. I had a father, a biological father, but I didn't feel like I had a dad. I have no recollection of him living in our house whatsoever. My mother, fortunately, was a very strong Christian, so I was really brought up in a good, solid Christian home. My grandparents were wonderful Christians, and so if I guess I can say my faith journey started early, as far back as I can remember, and going to Sunday school, and learning the basic Bible, stories that you do as a child, and going to church, and went along, and through that experience, as well as through my mother's influence, I began to learn some of life's values. I learned what trust is. I learned what being honest was or is. I began to learn right from wrong. And really, as I said, at a very young age, I began to learn what hard work was, because I saw my mother working so hard to bring up 3 children, 3 young boys. I became very aware of other people's needs. I remember an older neighbor of ours. I don't remember how old he was in those days. 13 is old, but he needs some help, and I used to go over and help him. So I learned those kinds of things as a young child. I learned what it was like to be kind to people. None of this. We never heard of bullying really in those days, but being kind. And I got into grammar school and went through grammar school, started developing a lot of friends, and really had a lot of friends. And those friends were not necessarily friends I met in church, the neighborhood kids, friends at school, etc. But I had a solid base of friends, and they were good kids, and we never got into trouble. So I'm standing here in front of you this morning, and I don't have some kind of dramatic thing that happened to me in my life, or trouble as a child, and I found Jesus. But I'm going to share with you in a little bit more detail what I have experienced. The other real important thing that I learned, really as far back as I can remember, I love the outdoors. I cannot tell you clear enough how connected I am with the outdoors. The other thing that I'm going to mention, and I'll just mention it just quickly, but it'll come up later on. I got my first camera when I was about 8 years old. Started taking a lot of pictures. So the two are connected there. So in my late 12 years old or so, I got involved with a Bible club in our area. This Bible club was for teenagers only, 13, and then we had people who went to college and came back and would visit. But it was started by a gentleman in South Weymouth. Alan Emery was his name. Had a great business, and he opened his house every Thursday night during the school year, where 60 to 75 people showed up. And if we got this church together and those kids, they'd be hearing us sing up in Kennebunk. But that was a major turning point in my life, a major factor in my life, where Bible study every Thursday night, singing, testimonies, and then Mr. Emery would give a short message relative to us, to our growing up, and what's important, and who Jesus really is. And so that was a major part of my life. And he was a pillar as a Christian man. And he wasn't a father. He didn't turn into be a father figure to me, but I really admired him and respected him. He was very good friends with Billy Graham, and was Billy Graham's CEO, if you will, chairman of the board of trustees and directors of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association. One night, his Bible club started. He said, I want to introduce you to a friend. He's going to kind of give a little message to you. And in walked Billy Graham. So, very significant. But in my teen years, teens are tough in some ways, but I started to learn more. I started to learn a lot more about Jesus, and I learned about the power of God, and I began to really see that living a life, a Christian life, and the Christian walk was more than going to Sunday school, more than just studying the Bible in Sunday school and being kind to people. This meant a relationship with Jesus, a relationship with God. So when I was about 16, I got to that point where I said, oh, okay. And I turned my life over to Jesus and asked him into my heart and into my life, and I gave myself to him, and I said, here I am, Lord, just lead me. Just show me what you want. And he has, and hindsight's better than foresight. And there are things that happened in my life, and your life is a road, and there are stop signs, and there are forks in the road. And I did not realize then that God had his hand on me and was leading me that entire journey. And it wasn't until later on I said, all of a sudden, God's in this, and God is walking with me every single day, no matter where I am and no matter what I'm doing, making decisions. When I was 16, when I got the graduation time in high school, day after graduation, I went to a beach party down in Cape Cod with all of my friends, about 20 of my friends, and we were good kids. There was nothing like alcohol, there were no drugs, nothing. It was a good group, a good clean party, and we just had a lot of fun. And I was kind of the clown of the group, and I got up on top of a lifeguard tower, and I thought, I'm going to jump off of this tower. So I jumped off the tower, but I landed on the ground as you are sitting here, but with my legs straight out. And I about to put my spine up through my head. So they took me to the hospital, long story. They got to the hospital, got into traction. This is a rinky-dink hospital out in the Cape. And I was in that hospital for about a month and a half in traction. And the doctor came into me one day and he said, I've got to talk to you. And he said, you're never going to walk again. Or the chances of you never walking again are great. So we ended up going to Mass General Hospital, and the long story short is after being in the hospital almost all summer on my back, doctor came in and said, this is one of the leading spine specialists in the world, said, we're going to get you to sit up today. And I thought, wow. At any rate, you know what happened. And miraculously, I began to walk in very baby steps. So it was very significant. My interest in the outdoors and photography kept growing and growing and growing. And I began to develop a very, very deep connection with God through his beauty outside. It might sound strange, but that's really what happened. And to this day, it's getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And it's a spiritual thing. God takes me out to the beach. God takes me out in my kayak in Brandy Pond at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning, and he talks to me. And it's an experience that it's just there, and it's real. I became interested in scuba diving through an old TV program called Sea Hunt. Then I started diving, and I got interested. That tells you how old I am, because most of you don't know. But I started to dive, and I became just enthralled with the beauty under the surface of the ocean. Time to go to college. I took a year off, and then now I've got an interest in diving, and I really wanted to fly. So I really want to become a pilot. So I got into college, took flying lessons, got my license, majored in biology, and went through there, joined the gospel team. It was a Christian college out in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of Kansas. But it's beautiful. Boy, is it beautiful out there. And I started, I was in the gospel team, and just as a sidelight, on the gospel team, I often did the message in the morning. And some of those places, some of those churches were 2 or 3 hours drive from school. So my license, my pilot's license. I started to fly the gospel team to the churches, and no kidding, we would land the plane on the road in front of the church, because this is out in the middle of wheat fields. And they said, here comes the flying pastor. So anyway, that was great fun. The other major thing that happened in my life that's significant, really God working. I'm vertically inhibited, right? So I really wanted to fly, and in those days, United Airlines was hiring pilots. Everybody was going into the service. They were crying for pilots. So anyway, I went to Denver, Colorado, and went through all of the stuff to become to see if I could qualify to become a pilot. Long story short, they said, Doug, we would love to have you. You've got a college education. That's what we're looking for. But you are 1 inch too short. 1 inch. But what are you clapping about? So, at any rate, to sum this up, I see that, and I didn't see it then, but I wasn't upset. I wasn't bummed out, and I thought, why? And believe me, I stood as tall as I could. I didn't even cut my hair, because I thought maybe that's an extra couple of quarter of an inch. At any rate, so I obviously didn't do that, but I went on to go to graduate school and finished a doctoral degree in marine biology. And one day I was head of the graduate student dorm, and I was in charge of bringing new students in the fall. And in walked this girl, and I said, wow. My wife is laughing. So I met my soulmate, my best friend, my wife. And we've raised a wonderful family. We have 2 grown sons and precious grandchildren. And I look back now, and I have about 1 minute, and I look back and I see how God has really worked. And in all those crossroads, and all those forks in the roads, and all those stop signs, and through all those bumps, he's been there and he's guided me, even though I never knew it in a lot of cases. And I've learned that he acts in mysterious and wonderful ways, beyond what we can describe. And I learned quickly that God has taken me from the rough roads of life, because they're there, the tough times. He's taken me by his hand, and he's led me through them. The storm clouds clear, and the day is bright and sunny like this morning. But he's taken me to the tops of the mountains, and I love to hike. My favorite place to hike is in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado. And boy, am I with God then. It's an experience that I will never forget. And he's taken me to the mountaintops literally, and he's taken me to the mountaintops in terms of life's walk and my relationship with him. So I thank him, and I pray each day that I will know him better and know him more. And I thank him daily for what he has done in my life. The song we just sang, Blessed Assurance, Jesus is mine. Thank you.